Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this webinar about the rollout of smart meters in Austria and the key success factors for G3 projects. The webinar organized by the G3 Alliance together with the people from EVN and Trialog. So Netz Niederösterreich is one of the utility members of the G3 Alliance, and I am very pleased that Lucas and Nicole from Netz Niederösterreich are willing to present today their smart meter program and share their experiences with the other members of the Alliance and the non-members participating in this webinar. Lucas, Nicole, could you please to introduce yourself, say a few words?
Yes, of course. Thank you very much. Yeah, my name is Lucas Klobufer. I'm part of the EVN group since 2018. I work for Netz Niederösterreich at the moment. I was also working for ERJUK, which is our Bulgarian DSO, and I got recently head of the metering department at Netz Niederösterreich.
Yeah, hello everybody. My name is Nicole Gugarel. I'm in the company since 2007. I'm in the metering department since 2012, and I joined the smart meter project 2018.
All right, thank you. And Nicole, we remember you from a previous webinar we did some years ago, I think.
Yes.
So thank you again for joining. And then the second part of today's session is about key success factors for G3, and that will be presented by Yannick from Trialog. And Trialog is also a member of the Alliance. It's a technical consulting company, and they have been working for G3 with G3 technologies for a long time. They are participating in the working groups to enhance the G3 specification. They also develop the tools we use in the certification testing, and they provide trainings about the G3 protocol, but also about DLMS. Yannick, can you also introduce yourself, please, and correct me if I was wrong about Trialog?
Yes, sure. So good afternoon, everyone. So yeah, I will not say anything else compared to what Leon said. He said almost everything around our activities for smart metering and G3s. So myself, I'm within Trialog for 14 years now, and I'm involved in all G3 activities we provide to our customers. And as Leon mentioned, I'm also involved in activities related to interoperability and certification within the G3 Alliance. Yeah.
All right. And my name is Leon Vergeer, and I am the General Secretary for the G3 Alliance. If you have any questions during the webinar, you can put them in the question box, which you should see on the control panel somewhere. So then we can answer them after the presentations. And of course, we will share the presentation with all of you after we finish the webinar. Before we go to the presentation from Netz Niederösterreich, a few words about the G3 Alliance. So the G3 Alliance, it's a member-based organization. It's not for profit. The members pay a membership fee. They have all kind of access to documents, access to certification. They participate in all kind of meetings. And the main objective of the G3 Alliance is to standardize and promote the G3 communication protocol for smart grid applications, but for any other applications you want to use G3. And besides the specification, a main part of the activities, or a main part of the mission of the Alliance, is to operate a very thorough certification program, which enables the end users to implement devices from multiple suppliers. So a lot of activities of the Alliance are focusing on that as well. G3 Technologies, many of you know it, but let me briefly give you an overview of the applications. It's a mature technology. It was introduced more than 10, even 15 years ago, I believe, and currently over 100 million products are in operation all over the world. These are the projects and the rollouts we are aware of, at least, because it's an open standard, so anybody can use the technology. Well, you can see here on the slide that there are many implementations for smart metering with G3 in Europe. Of course, in France, there are 35 million smart meters installed in the field from 6 different manufacturers, and they're all mixed in the field and interoperable with each other. Of course, EVN in Austria, as you will hear today, and actually many utilities in Austria use G3 PLC for the smart meter communication. Then there is G3 in Poland, in Croatia, where the utility HEP just launched another tender for G3 PLC, and the same for the utility in Romania. But not just in Europe, also in the Middle East and in Asia, G3 PLC is used widely. For example, Uzbekistan, they're using about 3 million G3 PLC meters. It's being used in Pakistan, in Bangladesh. In Africa, G3 is widely used. There are deployments in Egypt. Tunisia will soon be installing G3 hybrid meters. In South Africa, as you can see on the map, Eskom selected G3 as a standard for the smart meter communication, and they use it, for example, for the prepaid metering. Also, Latin America, we have deployments, and we are talking with. There are discussions with several utilities to install G3 hybrid, for example, in Colombia and in Peru. So implementations all over the world for smart metering, but not just smart metering. Here we included a few examples for other applications. In North America, there are deployments for the communication with PV installations. In Italy, G3 is used for the communication with devices in the railways. And for example, Vattenfall in Sweden is using G3 PLC for connected street lighting. So just to give a few examples of the G3 implementations. And of course, today we will focus on EVN in Austria. Well, this is a little more details about implementations in Europe. I mentioned most of those, so I will not go into the specifics of these implementations. So let's first start with the presentation from Netz NO and Trialog, and then after that we will hand to Yannick to talk about key success factors. And of course, we should have time for answering your questions after that. Lucas, okay. Nicole, can I hand to you?
Yes, thank you very much. Then I will start, and before we go to some specific details about our rollout, I only want to very shortly introduce ourselves, our company. We as Netz Niederösterreich, which is the grid operator in Lower Austria, are part of the EVN group. In the EVN group, we have also electrical grids in parts of Bulgaria and in North Macedonia, and gas grid in parts of Croatia. And also a lot of other business branches, as you can see, in different countries, with the focus especially to Southeast Europe. And beside this, also wastewater treatment in a lot of different countries, and drink water delivery, so to say, in Lower Austria. And we Netz Niederösterreich in Lower Austria, we have around 60,000 kilometers of electrical grid and about 14,000 kilometers of gas grid. And we have connected to our grid around 850,000 electrical customers and 285,000 gas customers. And on the next slide, we already dive into the topic of smart metering in Austria. On the left side, you see a bit the legal and regulative requirements we are facing in Austria, the most important ones. So the legal base, so to say, of the smart meter rollout and the requirements on a very high level is set in our Electricity Act, which gives us the general legal requirements. And then we have two regulations which set a bit more detailed. First of all, how we had to implement, or we have to implement, the smart meters in Austria. So there we are obliged to install smart meters where technical possible, but minimum 95% till end of this year. And there is a second regulation where the specific requirements of the functionalities of the smart meter are defined. And we also tried to point out a bit the main differences to other European countries as we understand them. A very special thing in Austria is that the customer here, customers can choose between three options. There is the standard option for the operation of the smart meter, which every smart meter, when he is installed, is in the standard option if the customer doesn't say something else. And there we have the daily reading of the consumed energy of the customers. The customer, if he actively wants it, he can also choose the opt-in version, which gives him the possibility to view his load profile. And so we read out for these meters the load profile on a daily basis. But there's also the possibility for our customers to say, I want to be opt-out, and there we don't save any energy data on the meter itself, and we only read the meters once a year. And in addition, for these customers with the opt-out version, we are not allowed to operate the breaker of the meter. Additionally, in general, we were required to implement also a multi-utility interface on the smart meter, but it's not, at least for Netz Niederösterreich, it's not in use. And we have in Austria to store the load profile values and the values in general of the smart meter for 60 days. So the load profile for 60 days. And we push the data on a daily basis also to the customer web portal, on which the customers can register and see, so to say, their previous the consumption of the previous day. Very new is a regulation is a definition which tells us that we have to set smart meters where we have no stable data connection to them. We have to set them non-smart. We also have to inform the customers that their smart meters are non-smart, even if the customers wants to be them smart, if it's not possible from data transmission point of view. And then these customers are not able to have dynamic tariffs, for instance, or they cannot join energy communities. And talking about energy communities, they in Austria are getting really more and more popular, so to say, and a lot of people are joining energy communities. So we see there a lot of rising numbers. And if you're part of an energy community, you have to be opt-in. So we need the load profile from you. On the next slide, you see a bit of an overview over our smart meter project in Netz Niederösterreich. The project itself was started in 2012. In 2013, there were made first field trials with the G3 PLC technology. And at this point in time, our target was to install 800,000 electrical meters. At the moment, as you saw, we have 850,000. The rollout itself started then a bit more than 4 years ago, so 1st of September in 2020, and we installed approximately around 10,000 meters per week. But we did this not completely on our own, but we were supported with technicians, with installation staff, so to say, from external companies. It was decided that we decided to use only the FCC band. There were required quite some approvals from the ministry and from flight controls, not only from Austria, but also from airports nearby Austria. And therefore, we are only allowed to use 44 out of the 72 subcarriers of the FCC band. The decision was also taken for our grid and for our smart meter system in Lower Austria that we are using data concentrators instead of gateways, which are installed in the trafo stations. And we also managed to establish interoperability, but not between 6 suppliers, but only between 2 suppliers of electrical meters, which we have in our grid. But there I would like to reference for more details, so to say, on a second webinar, which was already mentioned, which where also Nicole was part, which actually focus exactly on this topic. On the next slide, you see our performance of the system, with which we are quite happy with. So first of all, regarding the rollout, we in Lower Austria installed already 99.96 smart meters in the grid. The few smart meters which are left are we always call them special cases. So of course we have also customers who do not want a smart meter to be installed in their home because of various reasons. These are, so to say, our special cases. From the daily reading point of view, we have quite a good reading. We have 99.83% on the peak over the last weeks, and let's put it this way, main driver behind this was of course the G3 PLC technology. We established it with this technology because we have in general PLC smart meters and point-to-point smart meters, but we only have 2% point-to-point smart meters. So the majority of the smart meters we are installing in our grid are PLC smart meters with the G3 PLC technology. Regarding setting our smart meters, which are already rolled out, communicative, so getting a stable data connection to them. There we are also at 99.82%, so the cleanup is quite finished. And also quite interesting, on the right-hand side, you see in which configuration the smart meters in our grid are. So the majority is of course in the standard configuration, but 21% of our customers said they would like to get their 50 minutes load profile on a daily basis, and 4% of our customers said they want to be in the opt-out in the opt-out version, so to say, and they only read out once a year. Okay, and now I'd like to hand over the word to Nicole to tell us a bit about the benefits from our point of view.
Yes, so I continue with the benefits from our side and also for the customer side of you. First, the benefits after the rollout is the high availability of communicative smart meters in the field. So it is not necessary to manually read or disconnect the meters on the spot. We are able to increase the speed of our services, for example, the monthly billing or faster customer change processes and so on. We have a transparent status of our grid, as well as the smart meter is a door opener for a lot of new possibilities. For example, Lucas told us above the energy communities. So it's a big chance for the future, for the customers and for our services. From the customer's point of view, they have the possibility for dynamic tariffs and as well joining their energy communities. Customer can view the consumption data in their web portal on the following day. So not real-time data, but the day after they can see the whole day consumption. They have the option of using monthly billing, so there are no more unexpectedly high additional charges as we had in the past. The customer interface is completely new and allows also the customer to use real-time data directly from the meter. These are just some points of benefits, and I will continue with the next slide about the smart meter operation. I'm very proud to have built up the operation center with my colleagues. In Lower Austria, we have 24 different service centers, and each of the service center had 2 smart meter coordinator during the rollout. They are responsible to coordinate all employees on the service center for installing the smart meter. And we installed also 2 or more smart meter technicians on each service center, which are responsible for the troubleshooting in the field. I always like to say that the smart meter technician is the extended arm of the operation center team in our department. In our department, the operational team are actual 10 employees, which are responsible for the smart meter operational side. They check every day the support hotline for the colleagues. They check the consumption data if we have missing data. They also check their systems and check everything is running or not. They also do the technical evaluation in the system chain. So they are like detectives searching for the problem from the meter in the field up to the SAP system. And they create new incidents for the smart meter technician in the service center. And the colleagues in the service center will go to the customers' houses and search for PLC noises or other issues why the meter is not connected with our system. We also have the PQ data. This means we have a profile of 10-minute voltage values, which is used by our network engineering department for monitoring the grid in relation to the voltage quality. They monitor, for example, power outages in customer houses and also create incidents for the service center to check them directly by the customers. In general, there is a high priority for data availability. During the rollout, it was very important to work together with the IT department as well as the billing department and the customer relation every day. That was a big challenge during the whole rollout. It is a very complex system chain. A lot of system parts depends on each other. And our goal is still to reach 100% data availability. So we will see if we will get this. On the right side, you can see some facts about operational infrastructure. We have about 10,100 DCs installed in our grid. You see the difference Ethernet and point-to-point data concentrator. From the meter side, we have about 820,000 G3 PLC meters in the grid and 2% point-to-point meters. These are 15,700. For the noises in the grid, we have installed a 240 PLC filter in customer households. And we prepared at least 3,300 P1 keys. This is the customer interface directly on the meter for the real-time data. Okay, so we can go to the next page, please. What challenges, issues, and barriers did we face? I think this is a topic where we can really talk more than 20 minutes or 10 minutes. The smart meter project was one of the hugest challenges what we ever had in our department. So one of the big challenge, we heard it above, it was the technology. Which technology should we choose? And that was one of the first big decisions. And afterwards was the preparation of the technical documentation as well as a companion standard, because this is the foundation for all our meter manufacturers. Each meter type has to fulfill this companion standard. It was important for us to be independent of the meter manufacturer. So we had several lots in our tender. And however, our requirements was the meter should also be as identical as possible. So we have two different meter types and they should look like, both should look like, and the function should be identical. That is easier for the colleagues, for the customers, and yeah, I think we got this very good. This requires a detailed knowledge about the individual objects and standards. So the knowledge was very important thing, what we built up during the years. With the idea of not forgetting anything essential about during the tender. So we were faced with a completely new world in the smart meter sector. And for this detailed knowledge, we also had external support. So it was a big challenge to implement and develop the infrastructure up to the market. There are a lot of system parts and a big server infrastructure. And our SAP is the leading system in our infrastructure. So on the one hand, we have had the head-end system, which was basically a finished product that we developed further. So the head-end system was a product we bought and have done some developments. And on the other hand, we had the meter data management system, which we developed from the scratch. So that was not a final product. And we made a lot of technical specifications and developed this system with the company. And this faced a lot of challenges during the development. The complexity of the system chain creates a dynamic. For example, if something is done in the SAP, it has an impact on the downstream systems, head-end system and meter data management system. If a data concentrator, for example, is uninstalled in the field or switched off, this has an impact on the data availability. And therefore, the employees should understand this. A shutdown of any transformator station overnight is no longer possible. For that, we need temporary solutions that we have successful data availability on the next day. I speak from experience when I say it takes a lot of training, patience, and repetition to transfer the knowledge, picking up the employees again and again. Also, it was very interesting how the PLC network is working and how we can evaluate the PLC noises in the grid or the customer houses. It was a process for us, learning by doing. to set up a good troubleshooting process and handle updates in the system. A major challenge for us was gaining customer acceptance for smart meters. There were many queries, and in Austria we also had different campaigns like the Stop Smart Meter network. And the last big point challenge was the quick installation. As we heard above, we had a third-party personnel for the rollout. So 10,000 meters per week means 2,000 meters per day, which were installed, and the customer also want to use the functionality of smart meter. And so we have to bring the meters communicative. For the rollout, I think we have done this very good, but it was also a little bit of stress in the backend. Yeah. Okay, so as I told you, maybe one last fact at the end. During the rollout, we had also delivery problems with the meters. And for example, we didn't have cellular meters available, so we only exchanged PLC G3 meters in the beginning of the rollout. And in this case, we could see that the PLC technology works much more longer distance as we thought at the beginning. So we installed at the end much more PLC meters in the field as we planned before. That's why, yeah, we have a lot of PLC meters, and we are very happy about the technology. And every barrier, every challenge brings opportunities with it. Okay, then we can go to the next slide. For the last slide from my side, we have some points, some recommendations for the DSOs. I just want to go through quickly. First, it's very important that you have a good choice of technology. For us, it was 2 success factors: data concentrator model and FCC. Then it would be very helpful that you look for a partner which can help you, but do not rely on third party. It's very important to building up your own knowledge, your own know-how during the project, and also transfer this knowledge in your company. It's a big topic to setting and maintaining priorities during the whole project. Exchange with other DSOs like you do it today or in external meetings. And what is also necessary for a daily high reading rate is a good SLA and a very good team. And for the last slide, I want to change back to Lucas.
Yes, thank you, Nicole. Yeah, one last slide from my side, where I want to very quickly tell you a bit what the future developments are, or what we are heading to, what we are trying to head to. The idea is that, or the objective of the Austrian DSOs is to develop one national companion standard for the smart meter 2.0. So we're thinking already about the next generation of smart meters. And we, at the moment, our considerations are on very high level. Very quickly want to go through them. What we think at the moment, that the meter must be modular regarding the communication technology, that this technology must be hybrid. We also think that we in future need a higher resolution for some use cases than we have right now. We also think that there will be, or there must be, a digital interface which can communicate, for instance, with the customer's energy management system, so that we as a DSO have the possibility to make temporary power restrictions or access the flexibilities of the customer if he lets us. And but nevertheless, since this is always based on standards, and it's not the same standard for every customer unit, so to say, for every flexibility. As a kind of backup scenario, we think that also relay control should be possible. And last point, that the meter should be based on international standards, of course. And what we already know, that the generation of the next smart meter it will be quite a big challenge, because all what we did now with the rollout, so to say, on the green field, we have to do during operation, which means we nevertheless also, when we roll out the next generation of smart meters, have to deliver the data on a daily basis to the market and to the customers, which we think and we already know will be quite a big challenge. So thank you very much.
No, thank you for sharing these results and the recommendations with us, Lucas and Nicole. So if anybody has a question, please put it in the question box. Nicole, there was one quite specific question. What security DLMS COSM suite is being used by Netz Niederösterreich? Is that something you can easily answer?
Yes. So we are using the security suite 0, but we theoretical should be able to update to the suite 1 or 2 if we change it in the future. But at the moment we are stay with 0.
All right. And another question, Lucas, maybe you can say something about that. Is Netz Niederösterreich planning to use G3 hybrid in the future?
We are at the moment at the starting point where we are trying to set up a pilot also with G3 hybrid. So we also see there are a lot of benefits in this technology, and we for sure will also go for a pilot here. But I have to say that the pilot will also be quite a challenge, because as I already said, it's not like in the past that for a pilot you could simply and easy install some new meters in households, but we have to do this during the operation. And of course the meter has also to fulfill all regulatory requirements which we have in Austria. So, but we nevertheless want to head this way.
Okay. Well, and you already have good performance of the system, so that's not the reason you need to look into the hybrid solution, I would say. And there was a last question: how many actual installed smart meters are set to non-smart? Do you know that?
Non-smart, if you are talking about non-smart, as I explained it, that we have to do this now if we have no stable data connection to the meter. We are there less than 50 at the moment, so it's not a lot, but this number will for sure, it's very variant. So and this regulation is quite fresh in Austria, so yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Then I need to move on to the second part, Yannick. So we already had a lot of good recommendations from Netz Niederösterreich. But now, Yannick, you will share ideas about the key success factors in general for projects with G3 communication, I think.
Yes, indeed.
So I will make you the presenter, right?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, if you can. Yeah, perfect.
Perfect, okay. So yeah, to start this presentation, so first I would like to share a general overview of the current situation. So metering is not a new topic. So in this sense, all DSOs have already conducted metering project in general to deploy electric meters. So they know already the general key success factors for metering project, like having a proper qualification process, having a good logistic planning during deployment to ensure that all meters will be there when they will be needed to be installed. And at the end, they can build on their own experience of previous projects to conduct new projects by improving what was not good in the past, or adding new requirements based on new things that they want to develop. However, it is also often the first time DSOs want to deploy smart meters. This is quite new, and it implies new challenges for which they have less knowledge. So they are aware of what meter management or meter is, so like what is consumption and everything, but having smart meters imply having a communication in place to access the meter, and usually this is new activities that have to be fulfilled by DSOs. So this is why they have to be aware of these new challenges and identify how they can tackle them. So this presentation will give some input about these challenges and what can be done to face them, but we'll only focus on G3 connectivities. So there is also a lot of new challenges, but here we are tackling or mentioning only G3 connectivities concerned.
Yep.
So we identified 4 key success factors we want to share today. So the first one is quite obvious, as it's related to knowledge. So this is one of already the recommendation that Nicole mentioned. So you have to gain new knowledge about these new technologies and share it among all the companies. Another one is to have clear and complete specification to ensure that all the meters or all the devices, especially if you are considering having several manufacturers, so interoperability will be a key point when there will be many manufacturers. So you have to have or to define clear and complete specification in order to ensure interoperability. One is related to G3 network management, and the last one is related to standard and certified product. So in the next slides, we will explore all these key success factors in the different typical project steps. So from tender preparation up to operation and maintenance of a G3 system. So if I go if I begin with the first one, so you have to understand the G3 protocol and its characteristics, not only for being able to operate the system, but also to prepare correctly your specification, to design the system, for instance, and to make good choice based on what you want to do and what you want to achieve. You have also to understand how to test a G3-based system, so to allow you to design what is required to test your equipment. So, for instance, a test lab, what type of test equipment you need to buy, and which type of test you need to conduct before installing the meter on the field. But it can also be used to test evolution, for instance, of the meter, or if you face issues by that you identify, you will need evolution of your equipment with new firmware, for instance, that you need to test. And you need also to understand the constraints related to G3 deployment in order to define an adequate rollout methodology and strategy. And the last point is to understand how to diagnose a G3-based system in order to develop a good troubleshooting methodology, but also to train technicians within your company to conduct the field troubleshooting activities. There is already some available materials that you can find on the G3 website. There is two, so introduction of G3 PLC for non-expert user guidelines, and one is another one is related to G3 hybrid part. So if I continue with the second one, so this one is mainly activities related to tender preparation, where you have to design and define the use cases and the architecture. You have to assess the possible architecture option and what are the pros and cons of each option in order for you to select the best one based on your constraints and what you want to achieve. For instance, related to G3, the main choice, one of the main choice is choosing between a data concentrator or a gateway. So this is two possible options with each of them advantages and disadvantages, and you have to be aware of each of them to decide which architecture or which option you want to select, for instance. You have also to integrate the G3 benefits and constraints when defining your use cases. For instance, you have a communication link which allows to exchange data, but if you have one meter, it doesn't mean the same compared to if you have 100 meters. So you have to share the link between all these meters. So for instance, you cannot read each meter every minute. So this is not something realistic depending on the condition. So you have to be aware of all this in order to define appropriate use cases. What is important also is to define G3 profile specification. So this is sometimes something that is not part of a tender, but this is very important, especially if you want to be able to achieve interoperability. So you have to detail how G3 will be used, so which band, which version also, because this is important, you probably know that there exist several G3 specification versions, and each one add new mechanism, improve things. So it's important to mention and request a specific version on which you want your equipment to be based. There is also optional features that you may require or you may request. And what is important also is sometimes some mechanisms need upper layer feature to work properly, and this is out of scope of the G3 specification, so this is something you have to define on your own. External review of this profile is recommended to ensure clarity and good understanding of this specification by meter vendors, for instance, or your supplier. And a final thing is to also include some G3 specific selection criteria in your tender. One could be linked to the maturity level of the applicant on the G3 technology to ensure that he correctly knows or already experienced the G3 technologies in the past. Another one, which is related to certification, is to define the expected performance peaks. So I will get back to that later. Of course, there is already some available materials to help you for that from the G3 Alliance. So there is guidelines describing some services that can bring added value to you, and that you can add to your tender requirements. There is user guidelines detailing what should be defined from upper layer point of view. So which feature or which mechanism needs to be defined, and how you can define them. So it's provide you some guidelines on that. The bootstrapping user guidelines is also one of the mechanisms that needs to be defined. There is IPv6 route establishment user guidelines. So this is a specific guidelines if you want to use IPv6 routing to exchange data between several networks. So this is, let's say, a really specific use case that you can use. And the latest one is the guidelines around attribute usage. So there is a lot of attributes that exist within the G3 standards, and these guidelines help you to understand them and to know how to use them. But I will get back also on this point later. If I continue with the fourth one, so G3 network management. So there is specific feature that has been defined on by the G3 specification to allow monitoring of the G3 network. There is also a large set of parameters allowing to tune the system. So a default configuration has been defined, but this configuration may not always be the best configuration to use in some condition, in some situation. So this is why it may be useful to have access to the configuration of these parameters, especially to improve the situation or sometimes to even solve issue you may face. So these features are part of the G3 protocol, are part of the G3 part of a meter, but sometimes they are not accessible from application point of view. So for instance, from your information system, you cannot trigger a monitoring mechanism. So this is why you have to be aware of what exists and include that in the requirement you will define for your tender. What will be helpful also for the future, and especially when you will want to operate and maintain your system, is to include some G3 related indicators and logs. So you have to include some advanced indicator to be able to monitor a G3 based system beyond the typical daily collection rate in order to see if your G3 network is correctly working or if there is underlying issues that is either by application mechanism like retransmission and things like that, or retries. And you can be also helpful to request access to G3 status and logs in DC gateways in order for having more information to analyze and diagnose some issue you may face in the future. And one of the key points is also to define a good troubleshooting methodology to analyze, diagnose, and solve the G3 connectivity concern you may face. So you have to define a way to monitor your G3 network in order to identify which connectivity concern you have to solve, like network stability, or if you have unreachable meters. Of course, you have to be able after that to analyze and diagnose this concern. You can use G3 feature for that are already present. But there is also other possibilities. And you have after that to identify and select the options to fix the issue and optimize the G3 connectivity. Now, if I go to the latest one, which is related to standard and certification, of course, it's better to rely on standards because it's allowed to reduce the specific requirements you have to include, and also to reduce the required testing scope. And you have to require also certification. So for G3, it's better to request the latest available version. Currently, we are under version 7, but for the future, you can check which is the latest available version on the G3 Alliance website in section certification. And after that, you have to build a test lab for qualification. So you can rely on a G3 certification program to reduce your testing scope. So this is why this is important to rely on standard sometimes. The minimal testing scope must cover integration, interoperability if this is something relevant for you, and possibly performance and scalability. So To summarize this presentation, we have detailed 4 key success factors, but the main one is to get prepared as soon as possible, and especially before the rollout. So as you have seen, a lot of activities occurs during the tender preparation. We have seen too often that customer ask for support once the system is already under deployment. It is too late because at this time they lack information about the system. So this can be seen as a black box. They also lack feature to perform monitoring and diagnosis, and they are lacking applicable solution to solve the identified issue. So to conclude, we recommend to watch out for pitfalls by asking support early in your process. So there is 2 ways from the G3 Alliance, where you can have access to guidelines and white papers. We have defined also or developed a G3 configuration tool, and there is the certification program. You can also contact us. So we provide trainings around G3, but also the LMS COSM. We propose workshop to guide you through all these 4 key success factors, and we have G3 experts that can help you to address your challenges. So, conclusion: do not hesitate to contact us for your G3 project.
Okay, Yannick. Thanks very much for explaining, based on all the experience you have with G3 and the utilities you work with, the key success factors. And I do recognize what you say. It's better to start early to get to know G3 protocol and to think early in the process about the specifications, how you're going to solve issues, than to wait until you have to fix the issues in the field. So it's good to know that from G3 Alliance, we have a lot of user guidelines, like Yannick said. We have a lot of presentations online about presentations from utilities, like you heard about EVN earlier today. And we will be happy to share experiences we have with all of you, especially, of course, the members of the Alliance, but in general. So please don't hesitate to contact the G3 Alliance or Trialog. And Yannick, you also do trainings on G3 protocol specifically, and also on DLMS, which gives a good background understanding, I think, for developing tenders and understanding the issues you may face at a later stage. So thanks a lot, Yannick. Can you please go to the next slide? So questions. We have a couple of questions answered already online. There was another specific question about the filters being used by Netz Niederösterreich. For that one, I want to refer to a previous webinar we did with Nicole about cleanup specifically. And in that presentation, you can see the filters used by Netz Niederösterreich, by Enedis, and also by some other utilities. So I will share the link for that presentation as well. If you have any further questions, please share them with us, and we will answer them right away. But looking at the time also, I think we should conclude soon. So Yannick, can you move to the next slide? Before ending the webinar, I want to remind you about G3 technologies. So here I summarized very briefly the 5 best benefits of G3 PLC and G3 hybrid. It's a cost-effective solution. You use the existing power line for communication, so you minimize infrastructure maintenance cost. There are no telecommunication fees, or at least very, very reduced telecommunication fees. It's a secure solution. It's very robust. There is a robust mode for communication under noisy conditions. There is a self-healing, the mesh network is self-healing, and there is high indoor penetration because it uses the power lines. It's an interoperable solution. It's an open ITU standard. We have a thorough certification program, and we have proven interoperability in the field in many utilities. And the technology is future-proof. It supports IPv6. It's fully end-to-end IP compliant. It can work with many application layers. We have a liaison agreement with DLMS, so the interaction with DLMS is fully standardized and will be working even with upgrades on G3 side and DLMS sides. So that's a very quick update on G3 PLC and G3 hybrid technology. Then Yannick, the last slide, please. I want to thank all of you for joining today, especially, of course, Yannick, Nicole, and Lucas for making the presentation. If you have any questions, you can visit our website. But we will also be attending NLIT Europe in Milan later this month. The G3 Alliance has a booth there. You're very welcome to visit the booth, where you can talk with Lucas, with Yannick, and many other members of the Alliance. And of course, if you have any further specific questions, you can send us an email, and we will gladly assist you. So thanks very much. I hope it was interesting, and I hope to see you in Milan or any of the other upcoming events. So bye-bye and see you next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.